You don't buy the product. You buy the right not to feel left behind. The hand that clicks isn't yours. It's fear disguised as urgency. A red countdown screams, "Only hours left." But what's really running out isn't the offer. It's your patience, your autonomy, your broken sense of self trying to extract value from collapse. A flash sale doesn't sell things. It sells control in a world where you've lost all of it. You click not for the deal, but to avoid another quiet reminder that time no longer belongs to you. You believe you chose. But urgency was never freedom. It was noise, precision engineered. Short time frames shrink your identity, push you to react, not reflect. The promo traps you, not with savings, but with panic. Last chance, 90% off. Rush before it ends. You don't want the object. You want to feel like you're still in the game, even if it costs your agency. Every impulsive click is a vote of distrust in your own ability to wait. And deep down, you know, with more time, you'd choose differently. Picture a transparent cage built from flashing banners, ticking timers, vibrating red buttons. You run in circles thinking it's choice, but it's training. Every time you obey, your brain records, "I only act under pressure." The addiction isn't to the discount, it's to the dose of urgency that numbs doubt. But without doubt, there is no decision, only instinct. Emotional inflation is deadlier than financial. Every can't-miss deal costs you mental sovereignty. The question was never, is it worth it? But who's making this decision for me? The problem isn't buying. The problem is not knowing who really pressed the button. Have you ever wondered why you feel guilty for skipping a deal? Why even without wanting something you still feel compelled to act? Because scarcity is the most profitable drug the system ever created. Real scarcity is rare. What's abundant is artificial urgency. The product is in stock, the store isn't closing, the promo will return. But your mind has been trained to act like it's the last lifeboat. Because when everything feels urgent, nothing can be questioned. And reflection became rebellion. You're not chasing a deal. You're fleeing an emptiness. A silent dread whispering, "You're falling behind." That's what scarcity really sells. Symbolic terror of exclusion. If few can have it, those who do feel superior. If it's limited, it must be valuable. If it's rare, it must be good. But what if it's just the same item with a new ribbon and a dirty timer slapped on top? Artificial urgency doesn't sell products, it sells conditional belonging. You run not for the item, but to avoid being last. Last to know. Last to have. Last to feel. The real dilemma isn't the sale, it's what it triggers. Fear of being left out, desperation for recognition, addiction to emotional adrenaline. Scarcity becomes a filthy lens distorting value, not just of things, but of yourself. Every time you fall for a last chance, a piece of you forgets that worth can be built slowly. But nobody profits from your patience. That's why it was pathologized. You were taught to mistake urgency for importance, scarcity for value, reaction for decision. But the truth is simple. The more you rush, the less you choose. And the less you choose, the less you remember who you are. You feel hungry, but for what? You scroll like you're chewing air, hoping something will fill a hole that isn't physical. Then it comes, the red badge, the flashing banner, the exclusive deal. An emotional bite served on the empty plate of your routine. And you swallow. But it doesn't digest because the system cracked the code. The modern consumer doesn't want things. They want relief. And relief comes fast, but never lasts. A flash sale doesn't fix your life. It numbs your panic for 5 minutes, just enough to keep you from screaming. But like real hunger, it always returns. Instant gratification became spiritual anesthesia. One click numbs the ache, one tap silences the void, one express delivery stitches the day back together. But consumption as painkiller creates a cruel dependency, the emotional need for the next click. You don't buy to have, you buy to avoid feeling. And that's expensive, because the more relief you consume, the more fragile you become to the next discomfort. Your nervous system is trained to seek constant stimulation. Your mind forgets how to wait. And silence, once healing, now feels like threat. You no longer know what you need, only that you need it now. Chronic urgency turns life into a chain of impulses where pause feels like failure. And that's the trap. A human who can't sit still is a perfect customer. An army of hungry minds sprinting toward emotional relief disguised as discounts. Hunger has been moved from your gut to your soul, and now you feed on dopamine. Even full, you feel empty. Because deep down, you know, you're eating with your eyes and dying from emotional indigestion. You no longer have time, you have deadlines. Every choice must fit inside a timer, and it's not just the deal that's expiring, it's your attention span, your patience, your hope. Urgency became the invisible ruler of self-worth. If you're slow, you're weak. If you wait, you lose. If you pause, you fall behind. The system swapped wisdom for speed. And now, your value isn't measured by depth, but by how fast you respond. You're not a person anymore. You're a pop-up. The flash sale logic moved inside you. It doesn't just apply to offers. It now applies to your existence. Your emotions must be fast. Your grief processed within 24 hours. Your joy posted in real time. You've become a consumer of your own life. And that's the price. Because what moves too fast never roots. Life begins to feel light in the worst way. Nothing anchors, nothing sticks, nothing means. You grow shallow. And worse, you mistake depth for delay, and delay for failure. This is how the sense of value erodes. There's no time left to build what matters, only to buy what relieves. You don't know how to value anything slow. A long course? A deep relationship? A decade-long craft? Impossible. A brain flooded by immediacy can't tolerate the pace of truth. It needs quick answers, fast results, instant satisfaction. Everything that takes time becomes a threat. Because time is now the only luxury no one seems to have, not even when they do. When everything must be fast, nothing can be deep. And when nothing is deep, you start doubting your ability to feel it all. The flash sale stopped being a tactic. It became a blueprint for existence. And if you don't fit it, you start believing you're broken. You weren't born in a hurry. You were trained to run. Like an emotional soldier at war with your own time, you learned that stillness is dangerous. Breathing is a luxury. Doubt is weakness. Speed became more than a habit. It became who you think you are. And that's the tragedy. When urgency infects identity, chaos feels like home. You start mistrusting peace, fearing stillness, avoiding anything that doesn't scream for attention. If it doesn't hurt, rush, or pulse, it must not matter. You become addicted to tension, and you call it living. A flash sale doesn't sell a product. It sells a heartbeat. A pulse that reminds you, you can still react. But reacting isn't living, it's surviving. And every impulsive click, every unthinking buy is a response to a deeper void. You don't want the shoes, the screen, or the ticket. You want to feel like you exist, like you still have control. But the cruel truth is, the faster you buy, the further you drift from yourself. Because real identity takes time, pain without distraction, silence without stimuli, patience without promises. But your sense of self dissolved into the speed of sales. Now, you measure your worth in seconds, how fast you reply, how quickly you earn, how instantly you impress. Anything that doesn't fit that tempo feels like failure. And the most disturbing part? The system didn't even have to force you. It just sped everything up until you couldn't stand to wait anymore. You've become a reflection of the time that was stolen from you. A body that still reacts but no longer chooses. A mind that keeps running, but forgot why. You were programmed to react but born to choose. And choosing takes time. It takes stillness. It takes the courage to not move when everything screams now. The flash sale dilemma was never about saving money. It was about identity. About how many times you abandoned yourself in the name of a rush that wasn't yours. How many times you gave in, Not from desire, but from fear. Not from value, but from panic. And how often, even with the item in your hand, you still felt something missing. What was missing was you. There is no freedom without pause. All true autonomy is born from well-lived doubt, matured desire, and conscious restraint. But the system needs you to confuse speed with power. Needs you to react, not reflect, to obey, not decline. Because an impatient consumer is easy to control. And the more you rush, the further you drift from the one thing money cannot buy. Time lived with clarity. The clarity to realize that most urgencies are profitable illusions. And every calm decision is an act of rebellion. You have the right to wait, to not know yet, to not buy now, to let it pass. Because what's truly yours, what's real, doesn't expire in 12 hours. Healing doesn't come from clicking. It comes from refusal. Refusing speed. Refusing manufactured scarcity. Refusing fear as a business model. That is the true boycott. Not against the product, but against the logic that turns you into a reaction machine. Refusing is returning to your own time. The flash sale isn't fast. You are. You're running from the gap, the moment between impulse and silence where your nervous system remembers it was once punished for waiting. So now, even discounts feel like safety. Even urgency feels like home. But when you name the cycle, you start to dismantle it. Map of occult reprogramming, not to stop spending, but to remember not all desire is yours. Now, close the tab. Breathe. Wait. Don't buy. Sit with the silence. Feel the impulse without obeying. Then ask yourself, who am I when I stop reacting? Comment below. What was the last impulse buy you regret? Share this video with someone stuck in fast mode. Subscribe for the next confrontation. You don't need to act fast to matter. You need to slow down to remember who you are.